Section 3 talks about comments, and this is something that we learned on one of the first days of school. Um, and just a quick refresh here, we learned about the one-line comment, the double forward, and the block comment, which we use quite often. The block comment just blocks out an entire block of text between the indicators. Very, very similar to that is a javadoc comment, which looks almost the exact same. It's got an extra asterisk. Uh, some compilers recognize javadoc comments with different colors or font choices, but not all. And this stuff here, I think you probably should read the little disclaimer I put in the notes today. You're not required to use any of this. So all these different types of comment things, you're not required to do any. In fact, supposedly if you write comments on your AP test, the grader will not read it as a rule. So like if you were confused about something and you wanted to put a note to the grader, you're kind of just wasting your time. What they Okay, so you won't be tested on any javadoc notation or any of these comment things. You just need to know what they do. The College Board will use javadoc notation though in their test questions, and I've got a couple examples look at here today that I linked into the classroom. One's from 2017, one's from 2019. Both of these make extensive use of javadoc notation. What is javadoc notation? It's kind of like English class, you might use like the modern language format, in making your essays. And your teacher might be really strict on those rules. We're not going to be real strict on those rules. As I said here, you're not going to be graded on this. However, let me just show you a couple examples of like some AP response questions. So here's one here, and notice how they're using that slash double asterisk. Okay, it's like a block rem. The extra asterisk doesn't really change the performance at all. Maybe it just draws your eyes to it a little bit more. This is another block rem, but by putting those extra asterisks there, again, it's not changing anything. It's just a block comment that isn't going to be read. This is just kind of a standard format. Like if you go and look at professionally written classes, like look up the string class online, math class, they're going to use extensive javadoc notation formatted like this with the asterisk. They make comments in their code. Now, we will notice a couple of other things here. You probably noticed this precondition, postcondition. You might also notice like they often talk about the return. Anytime it's a return method, there's going to be a description of what is returned in terms of type and outcome. Notice that this one says modifies. So they're kind of drawing our attention to the fact that this is a modifier method or a mutator method, and it tells us some about it. When you see preconditions like this, these are givens. Okay, so preconditions are givens. When you write the code for this method, you write it under the assumption that this precondition is true. If you write code in your answer to part A to check the precondition, you're wasting your time. You're not going to get points for it. You could actually lose points if you ended up writing something that was improper. So I've seen students before like write an if statement and then they put all their code inside of it and then all of a sudden they're missing a return. So preconditions are given. You should accept them as being true. Post conditions mean you have to make sure that happens. So for example, if I was writing an answer to part B here, I would not want to do anything that modified the current phrase. And what they're talking about is this instance field up here named current phrase. So if I did anything like if I chopped letters off from that or rearranged the letters of that string, I would be violating that post condition. And as a result, I'm sure that the rubric for this question would have lost at least a point from that violation. Okay. Here's another example. This one's just from 2019. And again, we see extensive use of the javadoc notation. We see highlights of the returns. We see preconditions. There aren't any post conditions here. But again, very, very similar style to this code writing. You are not expected to do this. Okay, again, let me be very clear. even though we're going to start writing our own classes, you are not expected to do this. Okay? Period. You're not going to be graded. You're not going to get any extra credit for doing it or anything. Okay. I mean, if you want to write stuff like that, you can. It won't be graded. It won't be graded by me. It wouldn't be graded on an AP test. So you'd just be wasting your time, really, in terms of a test question. If you want to get a job as a programmer and you want to publish code, then yeah, you're going to have to follow javadocs. You're going to have to work under the industry standard and do these things like other programmers do. Okay. In terms of our class, it's not going to be graded. So, I thought maybe today you could maybe try adding some comments to the zombie. So, for example, like, one of their things here was, I don't know if you noticed, like on the constructor in that one, they used a Javadoc notation and it said constructs a zombie dog object or something to that effect. And I'll end it here just like this. I've seen other softwares that would turn like a javadoc comment a different color than an inline comment or block rem. And apparently Replit doesn't do that. Okay. But maybe you use a different site. Maybe you use some other type of software. And we could add some other ones here. We could put in some things about these methods, talk about how this returns health points. You could make up a precondition if you wanted. Maybe you want to require point change to be a certain value. But, like I said, not counted. Okay. You want to describe what's happening, though. You want to document your code in the real world. They're ignored by the compiler. There's the three different types. Preconditions, just like I said, something that has to be true just before the execution. Now, notice this sentence here, right? There is no expectation that the method will check to ensure preconditions are satisfied. So what they're saying is when you write code in a method, if there's a precondition, don't check it. Just assume it's true. Okay. Post conditions have to be true at the end. So you kind of have to make sure that those happen. There was at least one AP question I can remember where kids had to call a method with a parameter, and it kind of tricked them into calling the parameter with a parameter of 0 in their code, even though the precondition said that the parameter had to be positive. So you can violate a precondition in a method call if you're not careful, and then that might end up being a loss of points. Right. And so, yeah, like I said, you can go through on your own and maybe try adding some comments to the zombie dog class and just use like these two examples here in your code writing.